We have reached the midpoint in this series on creative writing, and it is an appropriate place for us to reflect on why we're doing the series. Now, creative writing is a means through which we are trying to realize certain goals, and I want to reflect on those fundamental goals. Creative writing we have taken as a means through which we ask questions such as, who are we? What is our purpose in life? And how we should live. And we have said creatively is how we should live. We all have this very special gift given by nature, by God, to be creative. Now, most of us go through life without realizing the great gift that we have within us. In this series, we are trying to help you to realize the important gift that you have. And we hope that by realizing this great gift that you have within you, you would be able to give back something to your community, to your society, and to the world at large, in order to increase the consciousness of your community, the society, and the world, to ennoble it, and to create happiness. Now, all this might sound quite lofty to you at this stage, but I do not want you to lose sight of the fundamental goals, because at the end, that is what we are aiming for. Creative writing is, and I keep reiterating, is a means through which to realize something far more important. At this stage, of course, we have to pay attention to certain rudimentary aspects of writing. And in the last session, I was talking about one very important element in creative writing, and that is characterization. And I have been telling you how, within the limitations imposed by short fiction or short story, you have to develop characters who grow and change. Now, this is a challenging task for the writer. You do not have the leisure that the novelist has to develop characters gradually from the beginning to the middle and the end. You have to develop character quickly within the limitation of the form by selecting certain details and choosing your words carefully. Now, today I want to move on and talk about another very important element in short fiction, or fiction in general, and that is creating a sense of place. Now, by place, we mean a location, and a location always has a geography. That is, the location must have flora and fauna, it must have climate, and that climate must change. It must have certain social, political, and cultural nuances that has to be realized. Now, you might think that is a lot to capture within the short story form. You are not allowed extensive description in a short story for two reasons. The short story form does not allow large chunks of description. You cannot have leisurely description as you would find in some of the older fiction of writers like Jane Austen or George Eliot or Charles Dickens. You have to keep your description to the minimum. And second reason is the modern reader is living in an age of photography, cinema, and documentary films. And therefore you can assume that your reader already knows a great deal. You just have to give him a hint and the reader will know the place, the location that you are trying to depict. Now, again, the challenge is within the limitations of the form. How can you evoke a place? How you can give a sense of the place, which is very important because there are a lot of movies and a lot of popular fiction which seem to float in a no man's land, and therefore it loses that kind of authenticity and truthfulness because it floats nowhere. Now, only when your story is rooted firmly in a place that your story becomes credible, your story becomes believable. So here's the great challenge. How can you evoke a place within the limitation of the short story, and how can you give all those elements that are necessary to give a sense of rootedness? Now, the answer is that you have to cultivate the art and craft of suggestiveness. Here we can turn to the poet. The poet works through suggestiveness. He works through imagery, through symbolism, and through metaphors. Now, short story writer and the poet have a lot in common because the poet is also working within a restricted form, and the short story writer has a great deal to learn about the art of suggestiveness. Now, this is something that will not come easily. You have to be observant, you have to look at how other writers achieved a sense of place. You have to read a lot of poetry. Now, short story writers will gain a great deal by reading poetry. You will learn how poets work through metaphors, through similes, through imagery. Now, imagery is very important. You'll have to learn to create images. Remember, one very important principle of writing: you have to show rather than tell. Now, a lot of short stories suffer because the writers are constantly telling. Readers don't like to be told. They like to be shown. Whether you are depicting character or evoking a place, you don't tell, you show. And how you can show? You can show through imagery, through metaphors, through comparisons. Now, the next element that I would like to talk about is evoking a sense of time. And in the next session, I'll devote some of our time to talking about how time operates in short fiction.